Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies, inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, get everything you need to the cloud. Better yet, maybe you have a passion for graphic design. Maybe you want to put around your house when you're trying to send messages to your family, your significant other, your partner. You know, rather than say, hey, can you take out the trash? Just put a big sign with a trash can that says trash.
Ooh,
right?
Seems accusatory.
No, it's not accusatory. It's just kind of how we communicate right now. For instance, you sent me this from Facebook. Junior Alvarado, the jockey who rode the Kentucky Derby winner, was fined $62,000. All I got was a graphic that said, fined.
Fined. Was the horse fined?
I don't know.
Did you see why he was fined?
He whipped his horse too many times.
Soft, Joe. We're so soft.
What a soft country.
Who's counting the lashings, by the way?
Sometimes
you said there's something on the internet for everybody.
Well, sometimes you got to pay extra for those. Maybe that's why there was $62,000. Like, excuse me.
Seriously, who is counting the? It's like the
whoa,
pumps.
whoa,
the Key and Peele skit. Shit, man, you're allowed to whip that horse 1,000 times.
Now,
not 1,001.
We've got NFL schedule crumbs that have been released throughout the last couple of days. I think the official release comes out tomorrow night. But Joe, just so you know, Christmas is happening in 2025. I just wanted to let you know. Thanks to the Chiefs. Week 17, Christmas.
I mean, who would have known? Thank goodness. Christmas.
So I guess this is all a lead up to, if you were to put a graphic together after last night's Carolina Hurricanes Game 4 victory over the Washington Capitals, what would your big dramatic graphic be?
Banished. Vanquished.
Over.
Oh, eliminated.
Well, not yet. Not yet. That could happen on Thursday.
How about just soon?
That could happen on Thursday. Big thanks to everybody who was watching the OG After Dark last night. We'll bring you a clip for the audio audience from a conversation we had with Mike Maniscalco after he took a swig of his secret stuff.
If you have a true passion for graphic design, it would be soon. It would be whoever is celebrating a goal.
Yeah.
But Phantom Menace style in the background, you'd have the profile of Marshawn.
Oh, I like that.
Mr. Burns.
I like that.
Eggs.
That's good. I'm going to have to work on some graphics. I have to get past my 180p graphic of Jordan Hudson on the Today and Bill Belichick, which, by the way, we're working on a new song for that.
Okay.
We got Brian over at Nice Price working on a song. I'm very excited about this. Now, so last night, I think, as we discussed last night, and we'll give you a little bit of a repeat from our conversation with Maniscalco that ties into a larger point about clearly the Canes are letting the Washington Capitals know, hey, man, we will take your best shot. We will not engage with the tomfoolery. And every time that you think you might get back in this thing, we're going to shut it back down. And I know I was dismissive last night of your 5-on-3, which we'll get to in a second, why I was dismissive of it. But I understood where you were coming from on the 5-on-3. This is from Ryan Henkel, who covers the Carolina Hurricanes. I thought this was amusing in the locker room. Dmitry Orlov on what was going through his mind heading into the box to make it a 5-on-3 late in the game. Quote, I almost shit myself. See, I don't want to tell Ryan how to do his job, and maybe we should also step our game up. But if that was just Dmitry Orlov making that face, what would the graphic be?
Just
shat. That's what the graphic
depends.
would say. Oops. He crapped his pants. So he almost shit himself. And I get why, man. Because you knew with the 5-on-3 and where Alexander Ovechkin had been in the series with 0 points in 3 games, man, if he doesn't score here, he's never going to score. And sure enough, within moments, he was there in his spot and he shot that thing right through, man. And I could see why everybody was mad about it, given the tenor of the game and giving the Washington Capitals an opportunity to get back in this thing. I got why you were upset.
Yeah, I mean, there's a standard in hockey. Like, there's a reason we've seen earlier in this series and in the previous series, when you have a man advantage, you really do need to pull a Marty McSorley and wail on somebody with a stick to get a 5-on-3 advantage. That is typically the standard in hockey, in playoff hockey in particular. And if it was a closer game, i.e. a 1-goal game at the time, I suspect they wouldn't have gotten that call. So I'll go on my conspiracy theory there.
Fair enough. But as we talked about last night on the After Dark, which is brought to you by our friends at Blue and Blinds, give them a call, 919-980-9815. 10 or more treatments, 10% off with Blue and Blinds. And it goes beyond just like what you think of as blinds. We're talking blackout curtains. We're talking automated shades. I mean, blind technology is off the charts these days. It's good stuff.
Yeah, don't be like me and think, well, man, I got to get like the wooden plantation ones, or I got to get the ones that you pull down. No, man. Get your options. Seriously, think about those room darkening shades. It doesn't have to be your whole house.
No.
It could be your bedroom. Could be somewhere like you like to wake up in the morning, go down, raise it up, and then at night you put it down, and it's just a Joe Giglio nap time. Let's call it that shade, the 2:30 Joe Giglio nap time,
which you need today, since apparently you're going to power through for Pearl Jam tonight.
I'm making a run.
Good for you, man. Stay hydrated. Drink all your weird waters to stay hydrated for tonight.
I have a weird water.
Good.
The question is it a Rumpelman tonight?
Oh, gee, you want a Malort? you want a Malort airplane bottle for tonight?
No, I'm good on.
You're good on that one. Anyway, speaking
on the Malort.
Speaking of which, Maniscalco had his botanicals. He was fired up. He had his secret stuff, and we were in the midst of the conversation about that 5-on-3, and I just reiterated my point that given the tenor of the game, it didn't really matter. And the Canes right now are doing something that we'll get to in a second, is defying what national folks thought the Canes would be going into the postseason.
The reason why I don't want to engage with it, Joe, is because it gets back to the point that I was starting off with when Mike sat down. It doesn't matter.
No, in the outcome of this game, it did.
And not with the way
even
the
in
Canes,
the play of the game,
and not with the way the Canes have been playing.
Right.
I had no doubts in the third period that, all right, Ovechkin got his. I have little doubt that the Carolina Hurricanes.
That's now his last 2 goals in this building are purely off of fucking 5-on-3 gifts.
But
I'm just being honest with you.
But to your point,
that's fine. That's fine. But he didn't get the record though here.
No.
So at least he didn't do that.
And
right?
not to be devil's advocate to you, but to back up the Giglio point for me.
Yeah.
There's 1:17 left in the first penalty when that gets called.
Right.
And they score I think 11 seconds into it.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a minute for. In my mind, I'm like, if they score early on that 5-on-3, now they're going to have a bunch of time left on it.
Yeah.
And now
I get it.
No, now does the greatest goal scorer in hockey history feel good?
Yeah.
And get a look, and are they going to feed that machine that we've seen?
But given the tenor of the game, I understand what you're saying, and I don't want to contradict myself with the way the high level players on the Washington Capitals can respond to this stuff. I just thought from a total team effort, the Canes had shown consistently they were going to find a way to do that.
Yeah.
And again, I'll go back to tired, screwed up my periods when this happened. But my point still stands. I think you got the tenor of the game from the 4-minute double minor high stick.
Oh yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, but that was a clinic in how they were clearing the pucks, keeping these things going, getting the building fired up. And you cannot. I know people get a little. They roll their eyes about the loudest house and the atmosphere.
There's something to it.
No, this place is electric in moments like that. And I'm highly convinced that that's what carried over into the start of the next period, and Jarvis gets his goal.
Yeah.
So, those are the things that just kind of illustrated to me, regardless of what the Washington Capitals were going to do, Canes had an answer. And I think that's going to carry over. Look, you were right about this being quick. I put too much reliance on Ovechkin. I put too much reliance on a guy like Tom Wilson being a pain in the ass, that this was probably going to go 6. But now I can clearly be on board with this getting wrapped up on Thursday.
This also gets back to Freddie again with the early save on Michael.
Yes.
He is.
These are the kind of things that we just haven't seen in the past. He's playing at a different level. The team is responding to him. The building is responding to him, to your point. And I was going to say, Mike, Saturday was quite an abortion on my end. So, today we're much better here. We're doing much better. But we did make one salient point. I made one salient point on Saturday. The second round has a tendency to get late early.
That's what I was saying.
And now you look back at it in Rod's 14 series. He's won 3 in 5 games or less. You have New Jersey in the first round. You have the second round against the Islanders, his only sweep.
Yep.
And the second round from 23 against the Devils in 5 games. So this second round, when a team like the Canes can smell a little blood, and go back to that Tampa series too, by the way.
Yeah.
When they lost to Tampa, that was one of those like, hey man, second round, this isn't time to fuck around and find out. This is time for you to get the hell out of my way because I'm on my way to 16 wins.
Once that snowball starts rolling downhill and picking up that momentum. And I joked about this with Justin Williams. I should pay him every time I use this, which is
he doesn't need your money.
I know, but
he's good.
But he had the greatest line ever about this is what the playoffs are about.
Yeah.
You let your opponent know exactly how hard it is going to be to beat you, how hard it's going to be to win the series, and then you lean on them. And then you get some teams when you start leaning on them and they're looking at like, we've thrown every punch we have. We got nothing left.
Yeah.
It turns into this is for you. No moss.
That's
you're gonna throw in the towel and
that gets with the punches. I mean, honestly, every punch that they had, the Canes could take it back. So.
But this is a Caps team, and the only thing that's missing really to back Giglio's play is if Washington won the President's Trophy, but then they wouldn't have gotten out of the first round.
There it is.
Did you remember that night when they were here and Rod said, and I clipped it. Because he's like, well, they have nothing to play for. Well, except for, everyone knows. And then he just goes, there's just in real life, a dot. See? And the Jets, by the way, they're on the clock.
Still around though.
On the clock.
But I look at the last 5 periods of this series, and that's what the Canes did. They've leaned on Washington and let them know exactly how hard it's going to be for them to win this series. Again, stranger things have happened. But in this one, I just think Washington has to get in front of the game on Thursday, or as the Hurricanes have shown,
but they've tried to get in front of the game the last 2 games.
It's the odd thing about this to me is with what Washington has and what they built this year in the regular season with McMichael and Protas. I'm not just talking about Ovechkin or Wilson, who had a great year, in Strome, who had 67 assists and all of that. That they, and Spencer Carberry said it, they are not built to try to come back in a game. They are the team that's built to, we jump out to the lead and now you got to go through us. So I think Thursday night, if the Canes get the first goal in that building, it could be, as in the words of a few smart guys, it's going to be early in that game.
Always enjoy our conversations with Mike Maniscalco. We'll do it again on Thursday for another After Dark. We'll see if the Canes can wrap this up. Just more hockey breaks, baby.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hale.
Check out Happy and Hale. They've got the hot honey chicken.
Yes. Use the app, OG25. Order online. Go pick it up. North Hills or at Six Forks, either one, or Durham. This week, because of the weather, they're not downtown. They'll be back next week, but not this week. So go check them out. Their usual spots, North Hills. Get it done. OG25. Use our promo code, save 25%.
Yeah, the app makes it super easy to get in and out and go about your day for whatever kind of break you need. But our hockey break will continue with some OG Sports phone calls.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
All right, let's go to a 252.
What's going on, guys? I just wanted to chime in real quick on the Canes' victory over the Capitals last night. And I think we can do our best Mike Greenberg, a.k.a. Greeny, impression today and say that this series is over. I truly believe this series is over. I thought it was going to go 7, but now, honestly, I think we can wrap this thing up in D.C. and, get the gentleman's sweep here. And then on to the conference finals. We are 0-8 in the conference finals under Rod Brind'Amour, as we all know, and hopefully that will change this year. But, this series against the Capitals, or the Crapitals, as I like to call them, I think it's safe to say this series is over.
I appreciate that the caller brought up the narrative because I'm sure we'll hear about it if and when, and most likely when, the Carolina Hurricanes make the Eastern Conference Finals, being 1 win away. This came to us via text from a 910. Catching up on the After Dark, and y'all were talking about the national narrative and this idea that the Canes can't get out of the East. A conversation I can handle. What I cannot handle is the national broadcast continuing to only talk about Washington and the bad breaks that they are getting, instead of how well the Canes are playing and forcing their style on the Caps. I had joked about this in Game 3 when ESPN sent out an alert to start the third period that was, can the Caps rally? And my simple thought to that was, man, ESPN is never beating the allegations that people throw out there. And I didn't watch the TNT broadcast last night because we were at the game.
Well, we did. It was on right in front of us.
No, but you can't hear it.
Oh, John wasn't the call for TNT.
No, he was
Okay,
radio.
okay,
John
okay.
was radio.
I got you. I'm like, wait a second. We kind of sort of did.
No, we didn't.
Wasn't it so comforting? Like you're
I
sitting
know.
there, you're watching, you hear this voice. You're like, where have I heard that voice?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
wait a second.
Hey, look, man, we're blessed to have two really good play-by-play and crews for the Hurricanes, past and present. But I did not watch the TNT broadcast, obviously. But Kelly said this morning, she's like, yeah, it's like they just would not stop talking about how the Cap's got to get it back into this and what they can do. And again, the answer to this is really, really simple. And that is, well, it's Alexander Ovechkin. He is the storyline. He is the storyline. He's the all-time goals leader. So he's going to be the storyline. I understand all these things. And the other thing, the thing that would bother me more is the conversation about the style of play. Brendan Moore was asked about this in the postgame, about the shot.
Can't wait till we see him after this series.
He's already feisty. So here's the exchange. Here's the exchange with Brendan Moore being asked about the shot volume. Look at that paying off now in this series.
When the playoffs come around, you obviously get more attention nationally, and so much of it comes up as shot volume. Oh, they're a shot volume team. Does that irk you or annoy you at all? Then is there a little bit of
It's lazy because you're not really watching the game. Then you're picking a part of it, but there's a method to all of it, right? And so anyway, it doesn't irk me. It's fine. That's what you're trying to do. I mean, put pucks to the net, like that's how you score.
Put pucks on the net. That's how you score. This is a talking point, Joe. I know you've made the point that TV has to break these things down to its very essence, a distillation of what the teams might be about or the storylines. And yes, the conversation about shot volume for Carolina Hurricanes fans has kind of been overdone. But I think there's a couple of things going on here. The first one is, as it relates to the Carolina Hurricanes and the success they've had with Rod Brind'Amour over the last 7 years and them being on the verge of an Eastern Conference Finals return, is very similar to the idea of how are you hating when you can't even get inside the club? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which speaks to a new Galaxy brain take. You love a comp.
I do.
You love a freaking comp. So I'm going to throw you a comp. The way we are talking about the Carolina Hurricanes and the shot volume stuff is the same way. I'm not saying it's one for one in style, but it's in terms of how we talk about it, how people get like, how can you watch this? This is trash.
Oh, no.
I've seen this from the Washington folks. I've seen my Canes people retweet like 1067 The Fan folks about like, you Canes fans just don't understand hockey. If you think this is entertaining to watch, I mean, that's all one guy talking about. Y'all NASCAR fans. Buddy, it's 2025. Let me explain something to you about North Carolina NASCAR, okay? But regardless, I get it. It's said for effect. It's said to troll. But you know what I'm hearing when I hear people bitch and moan about the style of the Carolina Hurricanes and the success they're having with it, hating when they're outside the club? Because last time I checked, you ain't winning this series with your style. Last time I checked, you ain't even in the playoffs. You know what I hear, Joe?
You're hearing big Virginia energy.
Yup. I'm not saying the styles are one for one. I'm saying the discourse around the styles and how we talk about this team is the exact same freaking thing.
Luckily, though, we don't have Canes fans cheering for shots.
There is
luckily
that. There is that.
Like the idiot Virginia fans cheer for shot clock violations.
And unlike Virginia fans, it's not this religious fervor over the fact that you truly believe in what Tony Bennett's doing. I will give Canes fans credit. I will give Canes fans credit.
I don't know. There's
when
a name Rod we trust, in Tony we trust.
That's just Rod, the legend, the lore, the championship, all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Right. What I'm getting at is when the Canes do lose.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
It's like, well, see? It's this damn system. This is why Chris Gensel doesn't want to be here. This is why Mikko Rantanen doesn't want to be here. I'm sorry. Why did I say Chris Gensel?
I love it when you screw up names for some reason.
Jake Gensel. I don't know what my problem is, man. Regardless. That's a new one. Chris Hawkins the other day. I know. I don't know what's wrong with me. But
the great Foo Fighters drummer Chris Gensel.
Chris Gensel. You know what I'm saying, though. You know what I'm saying. Don't get caught up in names. Immaterial.
Don't get me started.
So that's where we're at with the Carolina Hurricanes. And I did mention Mikko Rantanen. I do think if we can really get to the heart of this, And I wish Canes fans would just let it go, man. You're not going to win this argument. The die was cast on the Carolina Hurricanes when they had to move on from Mikko Rantanen. The die was cast.
Yeah, and in terms of national conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, I heard it on the broadcast the other day as the Dallas Stars are continuing to win and he's producing. It's like the adversity that Mikko Rantanen has gone through. Bullshit. Okay? Stop it.
It's like the Butch Davis team. Oh, God, this adversity.
Right. Two teams. I think at one point I heard, maybe I misheard it. It's entirely possible I misheard it, but it was like two teams didn't want him. Moving on from him.
Oh.
No. There was one team that made a financial decision around Mikko Rantanen, understanding that the bill was coming due for their squad and they had to make some hard decisions. And they traded him to a team that did want him, moved heaven and earth to get him. Don't put the Canes in the same category as a team like Colorado that was trying to move on. Mikko didn't want to be here. You have to tell the full story. You have to tell the full story. He didn't want to be here. And then the Canes did what they had to do. And now they got the guys that do want to be here. And we've hit classic, my team is on the ice for the Carolina Hurricanes. To borrow a phrase from, let me see if I get his name right, Don Waddell. Not John Waddell, but Don Waddell. What did Don always love to say? I like our group.
I like our group.
I like our group. I like my group. That's what the Carolina Hurricanes have right now. But because that die was cast, people don't want to look at what the Carolina Hurricanes have and why it's working right now, because it's just easier to talk about the Mikko Rantanen stuff. Admittedly, he's tearing it up right now with Dallas. Yeah. He is tearing it up.
The only thing I would say, and we've made the Virginia analogy before, is Virginia really kind of was a 101 in terms of no one else was doing that.
Yeah.
Pretty much every team in the NHL wants to play the way that the Hurricanes play.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we want the puck. We want to take shots.
Yeah.
we don't want to make dumb mistakes in our end. We want to have a really sound defense. Like, I think the real problem with hockey and what national people are having is it's what you like to call the footballification of hockey.
Yes.
Right? Like, so you either have to go super big 10,000 foot view of here's the all-time leading goal scorer. He won the cup. Now he's 40. And, like give us a storyline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's almost like the Olympic version of television. You don't care about the action. Tell the stories about the personalities, right?
Yeah.
Then there's the footballification of it. Like we're going to hockey this thing up because it's just like football, where if we run Y banana slug left in football, well, there's got to be the equivalent of hockey, right? Like I always give Rod a hard. Well, why didn't you run the paint the fence and score?
Right.
Call the sneaky Pete off the face off again, right? So you have this. So you have to fill the air somehow. And so what do? You go between talking about the personalities to the actual. You try to get semi-granular in hockey, but ultimately, like Rod said in that clip, you're trying to score more goals than the other team.
What have I been saying this entire time? Like, goalie discourse aside, and Freddie was good. I get all that stuff. And we spent a lot of time talking about Freddie last night. But another way to win games is to score more goals than the other team.
It's just really not that complicated.
So we'll close out this segment with one last sports phone call. This is from a 919. What do we like to say about the sports phone, Joe? Curse
or don't?
Or don't. Well, this one ties into what we've been talking about. There's a lot of cursing.
Hey, love you guys. I just want to say great win tonight for the Canes. But also, you know what I'm thinking? Fuck everyone, okay? Because if we go and win the cup this year, you know what that is? That's like, we don't need you. We don't need you, Gensel. We don't need you, Rantanen. We don't need you, fucking Eagle Man with the wings. We don't fucking need you, Pacioretty. We don't, every guy that we've ever signed thinking that they were gonna break us through the fucking whatever the fuck level we needed to break, fuck them. We didn't fucking need them. We got our guys. We got our fucking old wise men, the Stahl, the journeyman, the Martinook, the wisdom, and we got our young guns that no one thinks are any good, our Ahos and our Svechnikovs and our fucking Halls that are like borderline stars, apparently. I mean, Slavin's finally getting some love. You know what? Like, we don't need any of your $14 million contracts. We don't need any of your fucking 8x8. We don't need them. We got our guys, okay? And I hope that this no-name bottom six, third and fourth line, hand-me-down, fucking Billy Bob Thornton, bad news Bears, Jesus Christ, can they get any better? Third and fourth liners win the goddamn cup. Because it's about fucking time for North Carolina. Go fucking Canes. Can I? Please, just go fucking Canes.
I gotta write that one down too. That one goes into
Does that go into the calls of the year in the 2025 year review?
Yeah, 513.
Folks, I don't know what to tell you, but we are reinventing the post-game show here on OG Media. Housekeeping is brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online at enovana.com. Green Cleaning Solutions. Joe, I got the text.
Today's the day.
Mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Y'all been asking for it. We're getting more details on the can release of OG Light. We know it's going to be at Breeze Through by the arena. Target date May 20th.
Yes.
I believe it will be back at Shady's as well.
Perfect.
We know, I got confirmation that our guys at Longleaf will have it.
Oh,
they bought a few cases, so it'll be available at Longleaf. I'm also trying to make it available at some bottle shops. I got a tentative agreement with our friends over at State of Beer in
good.
downtown Raleigh, so
Nice.
they'll have it. I think we'll probably have a case to give away as well. Who doesn't want a case of OG Light in their house, tailgate with, right?
I do.
So be on the lookout for the champagne of podcast beers, OG Light, beer-flavored beer that Giglio could handle.
Triangle good.
Tastes the Triangle Good. Speaking of Triangle Good, we got Triangle Good t-shirts at Breaking Tea. Go to breakingtea.com/OG. It takes you to the Ovies and Giglio collection. I know a lot of people have seen the Ice Caps logo that we use in some of our social media stuff. You can buy that on a t-shirt. You can get, shout out to the person who saw me wearing the Golf Classic shirt. And they're like, I see you, GGO. I don't know what you're talking about.
No.
It's the OG Classic. What are you talking about? We got the Dead Conference. We got the OG flag, positive vibes only, the Skyhawks, and of course, Joe Giglio special, the shirt he goes to sleep in at night, the Cougar, the OG podcast Cougar. So go to breakingtea.com/OG. They got t-shirts, they got hoodies, they got kids shirts too. That's right, folks. Make your child a billboard for the podcast. We'd appreciate that. I mentioned Breeze Through. They're going to have OG Light. They got a beer cave. They got what you need. So head on over to the Breeze Through. They've been busy, I'm sure, with all the things going on over at Lenovo Center. And it looks like we're going to have yet another round of hockey to talk about. So the Breeze Through is going to be your spot. Big shouts to Roback. Check them out online, roback.com. Use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. Giglio's in a Roback every day.
They're my people.
So
Ben reached out last night. He was like, so do you need a drunk Stormy?
Yes.
And I was like, yes.
We do.
We do.
We do. We do.
So we'll see.
I know we have one of our guys working on one too. Michael's working on one.
Michael's got more of like a Sistine Chapel thing that he's working on.
Is he
more
now?
So than just a standalone Stormy.
Okay. But we do need a drunk Stormy. Or I'm sorry, a drunk pig who enjoys hockey and beer.
Correct. It would not be Stormy.
It would not be. It would just be a drunk pig who likes hockey and beer.
Correct.
In no way, shape, or form affiliated with the Carolina Hurricanes.
No.
Nope.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Not at all. So go to roback.com. I do have a suggestion for Ben, by the way.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You know I love a button down.
Button down.
You know I love a button down.
Okay.
And I was just in Morehead City.
Yes.
And I went into a local shop and they have a lot of there was like these the material essentially was very similar in material to the Roback polo, which is very, very comfortable, breathable, all that fun stuff. And I thought to myself, why doesn't Roback make a short sleeve button down out of this? What's to stop Roback from making a short sleeve button down with the City of Oaks pattern on it?
Whoa. You know what would be funny is if Ben were to call us and say, hey, I don't know if you guys have ever thought of taking phone calls.
It's just a suggestion
on a sports show. Or
have
you guys done post games where fans can give you suggestions?
Man, have you
wait. Have you done a mailbag episode where your listeners ask questions?
Roback's thought about all of it. They got great material.
Joe.
They got great gear. Go to roback.com. Use that promo code OG20. It's beyond the polos, by the way. The hoodies, the shorts, it's all there. Check it out. at roback.com. And of course, our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. You know what all this rain's going to do?
Oh, I already saw some this
Boy.
morning.
Mosquitoes are going to be active, so go ahead and get the treatments now. Go to bugsbite.com. Again, that's bugsbite.com. You can bundle and save with Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority.
Okay.
Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline from CBS Sports, he is Matt Norlander, Mr. College Basketball, Mr. Music. Although, Matt, dude, I see a Blues Traveler vinyl behind you.
Yeah.
Which, cool. But we're all in Pearl Jam mode here in the Triangle. They played on Sunday, and they're playing tonight at Lenovo Center. 2 nights. No Eddie Vedder in the house last night. I was kind of disappointed. People were expecting him to be siren sounder, but he was not in the house last night.
I guess that makes sense. Couple things here. I actually had Pearl Jam live on 10 legs behind me on a recent Eye on College Basketball. So I actually just had Pearl Jam in the rotation.
Nice.
That's now back down with my record collection in the living room. I love the way that Pearl Jam does it, in that because they're all getting older. A couple things here. We'll get into the sports. Hold on. You open this door. I'm barreling through it. Okay.
I know what I'm doing.
Pablo Torre ain't giving you no freaking Pearl Jam takes. I'll tell you that much. Okay. I love my buddy Pablo. Okay. When was the last time you seen Pearl Jam? Either of you?
It was the Yield Tour at Walnut Creek. That was the last time I saw Pearl Jam.
I've never seen him. That's why I'm going to.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So are you both going tonight?
No, I made the executive decision to give my father-in-law and my older son a grandfather-grandson night. They'll definitely bond over that tonight.
So they're going. You still should have found a way to get in. They still bring it in a big way. They put on a great show, but most often now, for Eddie's voice, when they play 2 nights, they take the night off in between, which is not something you see a lot of acts do. It's very smart, very intentional by them, and it makes the second show that much stronger than it otherwise would normally be. So that's really good by them. I can't believe the last time you saw them, Ovies, was on the Yield Tour. Yield, by the way, is the best Pearl Jam album. I know. Ovies' face right now. It is. It's the best album. It's my favorite album. I love Yield. Big time. I would go Yield 1, Versus 2. I would go Vitology 3, 10-4, No Code 5, Riot Act 6 would be my top 6 in order.
Get No Code out of here. I would say 10 is number 1.
It's
Vitology is number 2, then Versus, then Yield. I like Yield, don't get me wrong. And what I always find funny is that when I saw the Yield Tour, Pearl Jam was already an old band. So it was like my opportunity to hear tracks off of 10 and Versus as if like they were oldies, right?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious given
Think about there had been 7 years between when that happened, and now it's been 27 years since you did it.
Are you wait a second.
What?
Wait a second. How old are you?
Me?
Yeah.
43.
Are you really arguing that an album that Pearl Jam released in 1998 is better than 10?
Yeah, for sure. I like it more.
It's a good album. Don't get me wrong.
It's as simple as this. If I can listen to 10 or I can listen to Yield, I'm going to get more enjoyment out of listening to Yield. Therefore, it's better to me.
Okay, that's a personal choice. I understand that. All right.
Obviously, the population at large would obviously say that 10 is the better, more successful record. I'm not denying that.
Okay. It's a 7-year gap.
A lot of 10's production is very like of its era, and in some ways that works, in some ways it doesn't. But for me, I think Versus is like Versus was made like 2 years later. Is production is just so much better on that record than what 10 is personally for me.
I actually find Versus to be their most underrated album, which is kind of funny because it was such a more aggressive sound off of 10. I think some people kind of cycled off on that one. But no, Pearl Jam is one of those classic bands that after Yield, I just didn't really spend a lot of time listening to them. And I've been trying to go back to their catalog now that there's been a lot of discourse around Pearl Jam and everything else. So our last Pearl Jam part of the conversation will be around the concept that Pearl Jam, nobody had it on our bingo cards when we were coming up listening to them in the 90s and the early 2000s. Nobody had on their bingo card that they would essentially morph into a version of the Grateful Dead. Is that a crazy thought?
They're kind of like that, but they are and they aren't. Like, I just fortunate enough to like 3 of my favorite bands ever are Pearl Jam, Dave Matthews Band, and Guster. And these are all bands that have existed. They all formed basically in like 1991. They're still going today. They're still touring today. Guster obviously at a very different level, but like Pearl Jam and DMB although the way they approach set lists is different, the way that their fan bases, the dedicated ones, follow the band.
It's the dedicated ones that I'm getting at, because with the way Pearl Jam is now with their live material, it's almost like Dick's Picks with Grateful Dead. I mean, they're putting out the stuff.
Yes.
There's trading. There's all sorts of
Correct.
stuff. People talk
Now,
about
I would say that's a little over the
live shows and how they go into different versions of, all right, well, McCready's guitar solo on this one is way better than what happened 2 nights ago.
Sometimes, yes, I don't feel like there's enough variation personally with Pearl Jam, but nevertheless, like there's a little bit of the Dead stuff there, and it's awesome to see them continuing to move along and continue to and Pearl Jam has been among the very best bands ever. They're like right there with Fish in terms of knowing what their fans want, delivering that, and acknowledging and giving back in that kind of way. DMB is a little bit different. They're kind of like they do it to some extent, but they don't do it on the level that Pearl Jam does with its 10 Club, fan club, and all that kind of stuff. Giglio, you're going tonight. I'm thrilled for you. They truly put on a tremendous show. You'll have some Vetter speak in between some tunes there that can sometimes be pretty funny. Frampton, by the way, played with them in Nashville last week, which was pretty damn cool. I don't know if you'll get any special guests tonight. Even if you don't, it'll be a really good time. Thrilled for you to finally be able to see them. Thank you.
I am. Let's go to basketball, shall we? This is almost like an upon further review type conversation for the three of us. Although I do think it's funny that, part of the conversation around Cooper Flagg is, of course, like, how do we live in a world where Nico Harrison completely torched himself for the Luka business? And everybody is, it's just been this just a big story out of Dallas, and the dynamics between the fans and the organization and Nico Harrison, and how'd you fumble all this? And here we are, a team with a 1.8% chance to get the top pick through the lottery ends up with the Cooper Flagg draft. This is my second Windhorse reference of the week. Like, how does that all make sense? And I know NBA conspiracy theorists buy into this kind of stuff. Remember the Hornets, right?
Yeah.
The league owned the team and they had to get a prospective buyer, and magically they ended up with the number 1 pick. We see this every Tim Duncan retires, and look at that, San Antonio gets a number 1 pick. Like, all these things kind of play out that way. Oh wait, was it Cleveland? Cleveland loses LeBron, and all of a sudden, look at that, they get the number 1 pick.
They got Kyrie, yeah.
So there's all sorts of ways that people will point, like, see. The question, I guess, would be, is this a good spot for Cooper Flagg, all things considered? And what are we going to see out of the rookie after what we just saw with 1 year at Duke?
Yeah, I do think it's a good spot. I just did the Eye on College Basketball podcast, had about like a 15-minute buffer between the end of that one and doing this show here. And I made the mistake of just checking it on Twitter just to see what was out there. And I saw Jay Williams say that they should trade the pick.
Dallas should trade the pick. I mean, that would be
we couldn't get 18 hours.
If Nico Harrison is trying to pull a Costanza, like, no, please fire me.
It's not trading the pick.
He will trade the pick.
They're not trading the pick. I do think the fit is honestly like very, very good. If you want a little more NBA draft stuff, I'll just shamelessly stump the On College Basketball podcast, which your listeners are aware of. But we just happened to literally just do an NBA mock podcast early this morning, and we getting deeper into Flagg there and Knipple and Malawach and all that stuff. We think that those 3 Duke players are all of top 8 value in this upcoming draft, and if and when that happens, Duke will become just the 3rd team in the lottery era to have 3 top 10 picks. 2019 Duke did it, and 2007 Florida had 3 top 10 picks. So Duke is poised to join that club. I think Flagg will be an excellent addition. I think his floor is the highest of any in this class. It's important to keep in mind that very few number 1 overall picks go on to win a national. Again, I did this on the CBS pod. National championship, NBA championship with their team. Kyrie and LeBron did it. Okay, They were teammates. Duncan and Robinson did it. They were teammates. Those are the only 4 number 1 picks that have ever won an NBA championship with the team that drafted them. So keep that in mind. It's rare, and the only times we've had it, it happened to be that those guys that did it had another teammate that went number 1 in the draft. So if you are following Cooper Flagg's career moving forward, you should not expect the Dallas Mavericks to win an NBA championship with Cooper Flagg as the centerpiece, because history suggests that doesn't happen, and in fact has never happened in the lottery era with the standalone pick there. I do think he fits in well, honestly, very much so. I'm always intrigued just by the course that players take on the way to getting taken into the lottery. Cooper Flagg, he's from Maine, if you guys didn't know, and by the way, he's only 18 if you hadn't heard.
You know who else is from Maine, Matt?
Yeah. Oh, save it. And so and now he's going to find himself living in the heart of Texas after doing a gap year in Durham. So I do think the fit is genuinely a good one. I do, and I think he will be a very, very good NBA player. No guarantee he's the best player in this class. He might not be the second or third best. He's the most likely. There should be no debate whatsoever. Hopefully there's not, but I never put it past the media, and specifically like television media or Look At Me podcast media, chasing views and all that stuff to try and enable this stuff. But Cooper Flagg's the number one pick. There's no, he's on a tier to himself. No one else should be or will be in that discussion. Dallas isn't trading the pick. Everyone knows where this is going by the time we get to the third week in June. We're heading to that point, and then after that, I think it'll be Dylan Harper that clearly goes number 2. If San Antonio does not trade the pick, they might try and get Giannis there, but that's not your bailiwick. I get all that. I think Knipple could be anywhere from. I think Knipple's best case scenario is probably 5. Cannot imagine him falling past 8, and I think Malawach could be anywhere from 6 to 10.
In case you use that stat again, don't forget Magic Johnson and James Worthy.
Yeah, it wasn't in the modern era.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Number 1 overall picks.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Lot is when teams that won the lottery.
Yeah,
so that's
I got you. I was like, wait a second. There's one guy.
So the last part about Cooper Flagg before we move on to North Carolina and NC State and then ACC scheduling.
Sure.
Now that we've had time,
I got a hot Cooper Flagg.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Now that we've had some time, we're not caught up in the immediacy of the Final Four. We're not caught up in the course of the regular season where we're trying to talk about, is he the best freshman? Now that we've had some cooling off period.
Yeah.
Was all the stuff we talked about correct? Has there been maybe a little bit of a reassessment? Have we understood what last year was really about? Do we view it any differently than we did during the regular season?
About just Cooper Flagg's impact and
his impact.
Yeah, I think he was one of the 3 or 4 best freshman players ever in college basketball. I think that's fair. He was the centerpiece on a Duke team that statistically rates among the best of the past 3 or 4 decades. Took him to a Final Four, number 1 seed, led the team in all 5 major statistical categories, is clearly going to be the number 1 pick. I would evaluate him to have star power impact among the top 7 to 8 of any college basketball player over the past 3 decades. Yeah, I think a lot of it. Did Cooper Flagg meet the hype? He did. I really think that he did. And he's just he's the latest of many great college players who will not win a national championship. And there's no shame in that. The interesting thing with Flagg to me is so much of the past 3 years of his life has been extremely carefully plotted of what he will do, where he will go, all of this, and understandably so. But you even see it like
a theme coming out of Maine. A lot of people in Maine plotting their.
I know. You will get there, okay.
Yeah.
But I noticed it again when he was interviewed on live television. He's been overcoached when it comes to handling interviews in the media.
Yeah.
There's a default mode he goes to, and I don't necessarily blame him. Again, guys, if you haven't heard, he's only 18. I hope that he will soon be able to grow into his own self when he's talking on camera and not just go to the immediate 3 or 4 talking points. It's just an overcoaching situation, and I understand why it led to this point, but I just happen to have been able to see Cooper Flagg in like a natural environment to kind of see who he is when that's not around. And he's really charming. He's funny. He's interesting. He's fun to be around. I've seen that up close, and I've also heard firsthand accounts from people around the Duke program. So as he transitions to this next point of his life, of his young life, it will be interesting to see now that a lot of the elements of control that were around him over the past 3 years get removed in certain aspects, how he adjusted that. I think that is very much a person by person basis. It's impossible to predict how things that are not in your control will affect your professional development ascendance, regardless of the sport. He's well equipped to do so, but that's always an element that's out there that you can't really account for even in the pre-draft process.
All right, you mentioned his age a couple of different times. This is one thing that's bothered me all year.
Is this the hot take?
No.
Okay.
No. My hot take I can break off pretty easily, but you mentioned his age, and this has bothered me all year. There's different prodigies. So the question for Cooper Flagg is: are you going to be the prodigy that is Serena Williams, or are you going to be the prodigy that is Jennifer Capriati? Okay. When you're young and you mature before everyone else, everyone has this idea. Oh, at 13, Jennifer Capriati is the 5th best player in women's tennis.
Oh, sure.
So when she's 20, she's going to be the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
Not everybody does this. Not everybody does Serena Williams.
Yeah.
Right. Now let's think about what's the difference between Serena Williams and Jennifer Capriati. Serena Williams was unbelievably athletic. She had a gift athletically that her competition did not. She was physically superior to her competition. Okay. At that age, so was Jennifer Capriati. She obviously didn't take care of herself. She had other issues, all those other things. So what's always irked me about Cooper Flagg is we look at, he's 17. So when he's 30, he's going to be Larry Bird plus Jokic plus every other white player plus named. He's going to be the greatest player of all time. And it's like, that's not always how it works.
Yeah.
It's not always how it works. So I asked that question to you, Matt, knowing that does not have physical superiority, particularly now that he's going to be in the deep end of the pool in the NBA. He's going to have to improve as a shooter, which people do. When you play basketball all the time, it becomes a thing. You do get better. But I ask you, what kind of prodigy is Cooper Flagg going to be? Is he going to be Jennifer Capriati, or is he going to be Serena Williams? I already know my answer.
I'm more Serena than Capriati to me, but I don't think that it is reasonable to expect Cooper Flagg to grow into one of the 5 best players in the NBA. He can get to that point. Obviously, that's within the realm of possibility, given everything that we've seen. But I think he will actually thrive by being a player that does so many things well that he grows into an all-star because he can be a jack of all trades while maybe being a master of none at the NBA level. And so I'm not going to say he's bust proof, because I very few players would I ever say that about. I think you get yourself into real trouble by claiming that, but I do think he'll make multiple all-star games. I do think he will be one of the 3 best rookies in the country next season. And I do think that he's going to find a really good home with Dallas and be more Serena than Capriati. But every few years we do get, a number 1 pick that, we talk about him heading, weeks and weeks and weeks going into a draft and all of the upside. And there are variables that can come into play that are hard to see in the midst of all the hype building that goes around it that you can only know once you've lived that experience. So hopefully that answers your question, but I do think more Serena than Capriati.
I look at Cooper Flagg. He was actually the loser last night in this very specific sense. My hot take: if Cooper Flagg's the 3rd best player on your team, you're going to be pretty good.
And I think he will be next season.
And I think at San Antonio, he could have been the 3rd best player for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Second best, but 3rd, whatever order you want to put him in. By San Antonio not getting the magic bullet for the, 4th fucking time in franchise history.
They got the 2nd pick, and I think that
it's insane. What? Like what? Yeah. And I said, look, Charlotte fans, why would you wish this upon Cooper Flagg? Y'all know he
Charlotte.
Y'all would he would have gotten hurt. So you know what?
Sure. I agree with you guys.
He played 1 game in the building and did get hurt.
And he got hurt. So just let that man live. All right, let the kid live. So I can see where you're getting at with that, though. I can see where you're getting at. Moving on. Some quick hits here on Carolina, NC State, and the ACC.
Oh, I thought you wanted to talk about Jordan Hudson.
Well, in a way, I kind of do.
Oh, you want to talk about Texas basketball?
Yeah, thank you, Chris Beard. Is Hubert Davis enjoying all this stuff right now? Like low key, like is Hubert Davis going like, man, I thought the block was hot for me. I'm good.
Well, hold on.
Let that be the focus of the conversation.
Well, sure, in April and May, but you guys can speak to this better than I can. If Carolina loses 4 games in the non-conference,
yeah, we're right back at it.
Well, I mean, we're so back. Hubert Davis is all right. I'll answer the question, but also set it up this way. Hubert Davis obviously enters next season on the hot seat, needing to not just make the NCAA tournament, but home whites in the first round kind of situation. Okay.
Sure,
that's really where it's got to be. And I think everyone understands the situation there. That was reflected in some of the way they are doing their quasi front office stuff, whatever.
Well, that's what I wanted to focus on in that, if this past season was about North Carolina getting with the program, the front office moves, all that kind of stuff, has the talk and the reconfiguration of how they want to operate produced this offseason? What has the conversation been around about their portal approach, their budget? Is it working? Are they still missing out on guys? I mean, I know a lot of folks were upset about Stojakovic. So what is the conversation? What's the conversation around, all right, you did all these things, but what's the actual product on the floor?
Yeah, okay. So quick on Stojakovic, 2 years in a row they chased him. I actually think he's a fine player. I just think he's been the most overrated portal target of the past 2 seasons. Like, he's good, but like people talk about him as though he's going to be like an All-American or a All-American.
It's coming together.
Not what it is. Like, he's a fine player. Like, but like, I don't know. And part of this is informed by just like conversations with coaches and texts with, and it's just like, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but like, he got overstated. So I understand if you're a Carolina fan, you missed out on Stojakovic.
So let's get Stojakovic out of the way, though. Like, just their overall approach and what they've got.
I would say so. Carolina has. I reported this last month. Like, it's got more than $10 million to play with, so to speak. Accounting for like when we get to November, December, the NIL deals and everything that's going to go toward players on North Carolina's roster that will exceed $10 million. How? By the way, North Carolina athletics, from its football team to its men's basketball team, have found ways to raise and rally north of like $50 million. It's amazing to me. I know that Hubert Davis was very much not happy with the situation. I'm trying to tie everything you're setting me up here with, guys. With select few folks, money folks, suddenly putting a lot of attention and a lot of money into football, and that not being reciprocated at a expected level on the basketball side. And so now they actually, that situation has changed, and they've been able to do that. And with the expected revenue sharing, which still is technically not official, by the way.
Right.
I look at the roster. They've got Trimble back. They've got Henry Visar, Kyan Evans, Jaron Stevenson from Bama, Jonathan Powell. We wait on Drake Powell, who might get back to Chapel Hill and turn yourself into potentially like a top 20 pick next season. I don't get that whatsoever. I would say that the roster has not, objectively speaking, with where things stand right now for UNC, the roster is not. You needed one more guy. You haven't gotten that guy yet. I know Caleb Wilson coming in should be a highly impactful player. I get all that. We'll see if a freshman can come in and be anything more than, say, what Ian Jackson was last year. I don't think it reflects well that Ian Jackson left after just 1 year and is now at St. John's.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with you on that one.
Yeah, and there were definitely points last season. It spurts in games. I'm not talking like 2-3 week long stretches here, but there were definitely games where it was like, wow, if Carolina is going to win this, like maybe it has to be Ian Jackson and not RJ Davis. There's just some weird stuff there. So Hubert Davis has done a solid job, not an outstanding job in the portal, and that's reflected by where UNC is kind of positioned in these offseason top 25 rankings there, where Carolina right now is not expected to be anything close to a Final Four contender. And that being the case, with the amount of money that it has to play with, doesn't reflect extremely well. We'll see if not having a burden of expectation winds up being a beneficial thing for Hubert Davis. But if he sees all the stuff that's happening with Belichick and is kind of cackling a little bit, I suppose possibly, but he's got a way bigger fish to fry than that.
Well, my fear is, and I understand the frustration that football's getting all this money and he's not necessarily getting the same support, but I mean, I kind of floated this with the conversation around that budget for Carolina. It's entirely possible that Hubert Davis is getting the Kevin Keatts treatment. Like, we don't want to give you any more money, and we're at the point where we probably want a new guy. So do what you can with what you got, and then we'll make a decision from there. And Kevin Keatts kind of found that same situation at NC State, because when Will Wade got the job, well, suddenly the money started flowing again, right?
Yeah. Well, but Davis did get, he did eventually get it. Like, there was a point where he got really frustrated, and I was told by sources, like, kind of had to step to some folks that are capable of supporting the program and be like, where you been? Like,
right. But
and he was understandably frustrated, particularly as an
Matt, let's cut the bullshit. Carolina basketball is the thing. And if you have to go to a guy to get money for Carolina freaking basketball, what does that tell you?
I know.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm not trying to be an ass here. I'm just saying, like, let's stop spinning this.
I'm not even trying to spin it. I'm just telling you as it was told to me.
Okay, that's fine. I view that as spin, that Hubert has to go with that. I think the message has been abundantly clear for Hubert Davis from those boosters, where at basketball, you have to beg for money, right? With NC State, to transition to NC State, I do think it's interesting that, Will Wade gets hired. It's like, hey, great hire. And now we're kind of right. Now it's basketball time. Right? Here's your budget. Here's what's going on. So from your view, how is the Will Wade offseason gone outside of, say, a viral video calling people saying, hey, come get your tickets. Let's go. How do you view this?
Real quick, what did you guys think of that video?
I thought it was great.
Enjoyed it.
I thought it was good. What did you think?
I thought it was good. I thought it was very Will of him to do that, and I think that's some quality content to put out there. He's done a solid job in the portal so far. Solid, I think, is fair. They got Trey Holloman. We'll see how much of an impact. Like, can Trey Holloman, is he? Him and Terrence Arsenault being the two biggest names. I think Copeland coming over with Wade from McNeese. I actually think he'll wind up being a pretty important player for them next season. There, I look at State's roster, and I think Wade is a good enough coach where if you're a State fan, your hope is that, okay, with what we have here, if Holloman can be a guy that can be relied on to score 14 points a game, which I'm kind of I got to kind of see it to believe it. Can we be in the conversation to be the number 7 or 8 team in the ACC? And if that's the case, would next season, would the 7th team in the ACC be good enough to make the NCAA tournament? As we speak, as you guys are aware of, but your listeners may or not, like, the ACC meetings are happening in Amelia Island, Florida right now. We're pre-taping this, so I even think like they're trying to get Belichick on the air on ESPN. The basketball coaches are all down there. They're talking about a bunch of stuff that might not eventually amount to anything. But they're all down there having, their little respite from a lot of the portal stuff that they've had to deal with and all that. But Will Wade, I said it on the On College Basketball podcast when we did our coaching carousel recap. I think his hiring at NC State is among the best fits of the 14 high major additions that we saw in this cycle. And if this goes the way that I think it can and should go, NC State, barring Wade like knocking it out of the park and finding himself with an opportunity to coach at an even bigger program, you really might have a situation here where Wade could have himself a home for a decade in Raleigh and give State some juice. You made the Final Four, and that was an incredible run. But State as a program, you guys can speak to it regionally. I will just speak from it on a national. Sure. It has been so, like, DJ Burns aside, like, just NC State has not been a program that carries any sort of real push, intrigue, juice on a national. It's been decades. And so a Wade coming there gives you the opportunity to do that. The roster and the portal, it's been solid. I mean, it hasn't knocked me out, but there's going to be teams that you look viral with your and they're going to have added some players, and it's going to be like, damn, look what they did. Maybe State can be one of those, but they don't stand out to me with their portal additions right now as having been like a top 5, 6, 7 portal winner of the entire field right now.
I was gonna say the entire time. You mean like the entire country, not
correct.
Okay,
correct. The entire country.
Joe, if you're watching, I would suggest. I get that some people are audio only, but I would suggest for this portion of the conversation, go back to YouTube and watch the faces that Joe is making. He's like he's trying to go viral here. Like
no. So you think they're like the 7th or 8th best team in the ACC
heading into next? Let's want to break it down real quick.
I mean, yeah. I mean, like,
okay, I'm just going to go in alphabetical order. NC State, will they be better than Boston College? Yes. So will they be better than Cal?
I hope so.
Hold on. We're going through the whole thing, alphabetical order, Giglio. They'll be better than BC.
Yeah.
They'll be better than Cal.
Yeah.
Can't say they'll be better than Clemson.
They will be.
Go there. Won't be better than Duke. So that's 3rd. Better than Florida State? Yes.
Yes.
Better than Georgia Tech? Yes.
Yes.
Better than Louisville? No. So right now that's 4th.
Whoa. Duke and Louisville.
Yeah.
That's 3rd. Okay, go ahead.
No, and Clemson is ahead of them as well. So that's
Clemson
4th.
Lost a bunch of their guys.
Clemson, I'm going to trust Clemson ahead of NC State next year. Fair. That's 4. Miami, I would
no, get out of here. Stop.
Probably not, but
come on.
But Miami is standing to have more talent than NC State next season. But I will not put them ahead of NC State.
Guy has never coached
Well, I was
a
going to say,
game
we
in
don't
his
know
life.
anything about
Like,
Jay
Correct.
Lucas.
Correct. Carolina, I would put ahead of NC State. So that's 5 for NC State.
So much for the reckoning.
Okay. Notre Dame, I can't go there. Pitt, cannot go there. Man, oh man, what's going on in Pitt?
Yeah.
I know Virginia is happy about what they did.
Virginia, I would have ahead of them. So that's what, 6 or 7.
What did clubs
okay, yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Like NC State 7th in the pecking order in the ACC going into the next season, I think is fair and reasonable.
If you think State finishing 7th is what people are signing up for,
oh, buddy,
whoa!
I'm not. Hey, you're not signing up for it. Just it's year. Okay, a couple things. It's year 1.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
no.
Not for Will Wade.
No.
If they hired if they hired Jay Lucas,
Literally,
I would say if they hired
Justin,
if they hired Justin Gainey,
yep.
yeah, you cool. Totally on board with that. It ain't year 1 for Will Wade, dude.
Nope.
No.
You guys.
Fans. Come on now.
Nope. Plus the ACC blows, dude. You can't be 7th in the ACC.
I know it's gonna be
making the tournament.
It's gotta be better next season.
I forgot. The schedule is gonna fix everything. My bad.
Well, that's the other thing. You want to dive into this real quick?
No, we don't have time.
I would just say to you, I agree with you. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of a splash from the portal, right?
Yeah.
I didn't love Copeland, but between Breed and Copeland and Holloman and Arsenault, dang, the foreign kid, foreign big. Look, man, if they finish below 5th in the league next year,
I think that has to
serious trouble in year 1.
Wade has done such a good job that obviously State has a chance it could finish 3rd, 4th, or 5th. It can, but it is within the realm of possibility that NC State's 7th in the ACC. I'm just
all right. Well, if that happens, I mean, obviously, it's not like
I don't want to live through another one of those.
It's not like we're not going to talk to you, but I know that before you came on, you heard that sports phone call from the Canes fan that dropped all the F-bombs.
Yeah.
Now I want you to imagine that times 100. And Google might start charging me for more space for all the voicemails. Anyway, Matt, you're the best.
My pleasure. Giglio, enjoy Pearl Jam, Ovies. You're bad for not going. That's bad.
Yes, I'm bad. I'm bad for sending
my
you father-in-law and my son.
Go scalp another ticket. Get it done.
All right, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right.
Big thanks to Two Roosters. Check them out online at tworoosters.com. We've got a podcast flavor coming out soon.
We do.
Very excited about this.
It's going to be peanut buttery.
Very. And we also want to remind you that the best deal in the building is the Slavin Sunday. So,
yeah, if you're going to a Canes game and not getting a Slavin Sunday, you're just doing it wrong.
No. Come on now. So
maybe that Caps fan should have gotten a Slavin Sunday. Then they would have been like, I am getting dry humped, but these brownie bits and Butterfinger chunks are really sealing the deal. So it's fine.
So this is a preview to a question that we got in Hey Joe that Giglio was referencing. Let's just say that the Caps fan who was mad and went to Reddit to complain about it would not have noticed the dry humping behind him had he just been enjoying the Sunday.
Get the Slavin Sunday.
And this reference to dry humping is the reason why Jared is a corporate champion as we talk about his ice cream. So go to Two Roosters.
Because when I think of dry humping, I think of ice cream and I think of deliciousness and pleasure.
We're sorry, Jared. That one's on us. So go to tworoosters.com and go check them out. Now, the Butcher's Market is...
It's a Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday. Temptation Tuesday.
Yep. We got cheddar mashed potatoes, $2 off. They have steak tips and rice. The entree, $2 off. Buy one, get one on both ground beef, the 85-92%, and homemade sausage.
Good stuff.
So head up over there, get all kinds of deals. Those cheddar mashed potatoes look phenomenal.
All their sides are fantastic.
Oh my God.
They're all fantastic. Big thanks to Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out. WH.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. Oftentimes we talking about simple legal tasks like taking a house to closing. They can handle those types of things for you. But maybe you're a small to medium-sized business. You got to work on contracts. You've got some other things that need expertise. They are those experts. So contact them today at WH.lawyer. And speaking of experts, you need commercial real estate. You need warehouse space. You need retail space, our friends at Keller Williams Commercial can do that for you. The Donnelly team, Brian and Julie, are going to help you out. When we talk about the ASCC, like we did with Matt Norlander, hey, it's brought to you by Keller Williams. So check them out. TriangleNCCommercial.com or call them directly at 919-616-8681. Joining us on the heat, it's a Pearl Jam kind of Tuesday. I feel like Demetri can tap into his old 96 rock days. Demetri Ravanos joining us now on the Easter Automotive Group Hotline because we've got podcast festival stuff to talk about, plus some sports media business to get into. But I see you rocking the Pearl Jam shirt. You went on Sunday night.
I went on Sunday night. Probably so the 9th time I've seen Pearl Jam. Probably the worst tickets I've ever had for a Pearl Jam show in terms of view, but going with my 13-year-old son, probably my favorite Pearl Jam experience. Like awesome. It very much an eye-opener to look around and see nothing but gray ponytails and classic horseshoe pattern bald heads and realize that dude is my age.
Yep. Or a little bit younger in some cases.
Or younger, yeah.
Trust me, when I was doing ID checks at Walnut Creek for certain shows, I was like, oh, man, you're younger than me. Got it.
Yeah.
So if you were a 96 Rock right now and it's a Double Shot Tuesday, with Salt and Demetri, what two Pearl Jam songs are you putting on the radio right now?
Oh, man, I am probably hijacking from the playlist because this is one of my favorite bands. But I guarantee you we would have played 10 in its entirety by point. Probably 10 in verses in their entirety at this point.
Matt put Yield as his number one.
Yield is so mine is going to be a little bit crazy then to you. Yield would be my number 2A.
Okay.
I would go No Code 1, Vitology, and Yield tied for 2.
Look, No Code is a try-hard choice.
No, I disagree.
That is a try-hard choice for a Pearl Jam record to be your number one.
I think
you're trying to outsmart the room with No Code.
Not trying to outsmart the room at all. It just is the one that appeals to me. I will give you the one that people think I am crazy when I say my favorite single song of theirs is actually from their last album, Lightning Bolt.
The last
song,
album before this last one, Dark Matter, right? No,
right.
they put out two albums since Lightning Bolt.
That's right. Gigaton totally
that one
flew
went
under my radar.
Nobody what? Anyway, all right, that's me. Look, I will not yuck your yum. I understand when it comes to music, opinion is a personal choice.
Sure.
Just like it's a personal choice to join us at the podcast festival.
Very good.
At the Rialto in August for week 0. We got Split Zone Duo, we got Big Screen Sports, and us.
Yes.
Home Field is bringing it to you once again. We got an exclusive shirt, and there's like a BOGO here. What are we doing here with the advanced tickets, Demetri?
Yeah, so you can buy the shirt. You can reserve the shirt before you even get to the show. That's one, and the other, and this is what I am super excited about. Remember, we postponed the Sklar Brothers, right? We were going to do it in April. We are now doing it on September 19th. There is an option where for one price, literally less than the worst ticket in the house will cost tonight for Pearl Jam. You can see both the Sports Podcast Festival and Balls versus Cancer with the Sklar Brothers in back-to-back months.
I love it. I love it. So go to therialto.com.
Yes.
And then as far as the link for the buy one, the twofer with the Sklar Brothers, that's not on the Rialto's website right now.
It is not. So the easiest thing to do is go to my company's Facebook page, September RDU. Right, sorry, not Facebook, Instagram, September RDU. There's a link at the top where you can get any one of those tickets you want.
All right, Demetri, another reason why we brought you on is to give a little preview for OG Business. We're going to put another OG Business out next week when all the upfronts are done this week to give you a little bit more comprehensive view. But there actually is sports business matter to get to, and the only way to set it up is with the OG Sports phone.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
This one comes to us from a 919.
Hey guys, just saw that NC State is playing Notre Dame next year at Notre Dame, but that it's not going to be on a TV network. It's going to be streaming only on Peacock? Well, how? I don't understand, man. Like, you telling me that the first year that we're moving to a tiered revenue system based off of TV viewership, that their marquee game of the year, with arguably probably the largest TV draw and viewership, is now going to be online only? Like, I know NC State shit's supposed to be dead, but this very much feels a lot like NC State shit. I mean, how did they, I don't even know. It's just sad. All right. Thanks, guys.
Okay. This is not NC State shit. First of all,
No, this is
NC State's
hardcore
fucking
business
problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Because how many times now have we seen the ABC crew come in here to NC State and put a game on, and NC State takes an absolute dump in their pants?
Yeah.
Okay. You know who was really mad at NC State last year, and not the fans who went to Charlotte, but the fucking TV people were mad at NC State last year for that performance against Tennessee.
Yeah.
So that's where you are. Okay. If you get certain chances to perform and be a functional program, you have to take them. NC State has not done that. Okay. That's why they're on fucking Peacock, not because of NC State shit.
Giglio, I'll take this a step further. This has nothing to do with NC State. This is, look, think about who Notre Dame has played on Peacock in the past. They played Toledo on Peacock. They played Marshall on Peacock. They don't have that game this year. Notre Dame and NBC are not going to put the Navy game on Peacock. They're just not going to do it. They are not going to put the Boise State game on Peacock the year after Boise State went to the playoff. Never mind, they're losing Ashton Ginty. If I'm an NC State fan, the one that I'm shaking my fist about is, why is Purdue not the Peacock game? Purdue might be the worst team in the Power Four. That is going to be a blowout, but you know, the Big Ten has been smart about spreading their media rights around, and NBC has to play nice with the Big Ten in a way they don't with the ACC. And thus, NC State ends up as the Peacock game.
Yeah, there's also the push and pull, too, of, I understand you want your tier rights and the ratings and the success initiatives, but there's also a larger conversation about what's getting placed where with the streaming services.
Yeah.
It's 2025, so the idea that you have to go out and get a streaming service to watch a football game, the NFL obliterated that. They've obliterated it with Christmas games. They've obliterated it with playoff games. So we're at the point now where, hey, man, that's just life. There's just, I know June Lee, who was with ESPN recently, went viral with a YouTube video about why is it such a pain in the ass to watch sports now. By the way, it's only going to continue to be a pain in the ass to watch sports now that ESPN's coming out with ESPN. They've reinvented the wheel.
Yes, we've gone back to ESPN the phone, and now it's ESPN the app.
It's ESPN the ESPN, the streaming app. This is the all-inclusive ESPN flagship streaming service that we've been talking about now for damn near 10 years. It's finally coming out, and they're just calling it ESPN, and they're coming up with programming, right? Rich Eisen is coming back to ESPN, and he's going to have a show that will be exclusive through a licensing deal on this ESPN streaming app. So there's a push and pull here too. I get your point, Joe. NC State's on Peacock because it's NC State's fault, especially when it comes to those ABC games. But there's also an inventory balance of trying to get these games in spots to get you to pay money for.
Yeah, the NBC every single year does a real like, oh gosh, well, if we give up this to CBS or this to Fox, can we guarantee this Big Ten game will come to Peacock exclusively? I mean, look at their Big Ten versus Big Ten matchups. They are not bad, right? Like, you are not exclusively getting, you're not exclusively getting Purdue versus Minnesota every week in those games. The other thing is, and I'm surprised this didn't get announced.
No, the one who's mad about that is CBS. Because they had this, perfect SEC window. They were number one choice. And they're like, oh, we'll just sign a deal with the Big Ten. And the Big Ten was like, yeah, all those games with like Ohio State and USC and Michigan and Penn State, those are on Fox.
At noon.
At noon. You're getting, Illinois versus Nebraska.
Right.
Congratulations. You're now the Iowa network. I hope you like punting.
I'm surprised this didn't get announced yesterday, and it leads me to believe that there's a hiccup. But I think part of that NBC deal with the NBA is going to be one series will exclusively be on Peacock in the playoffs every year.
Yeah. Now, speaking of NBC, we'll close on this because I find this intriguing. if you thought the amount of coverage Tom Brady got in his first year as a broadcaster was overwrought, what the hell is it going to be like for Michael Jordon, who recently signed on with NBC? I got two questions. How much are they paying Michael Jordon to do this? That's my first one.
Okay.
And then number two, what kind of analysis are we going to get from Michael Jordon? Because we already got the old man yells at cloud coverage of the NBA down thanks to the TNT crew. So unless this is NBC counter-programming Charles Barkley telling you I don't like this game anymore, well, I can only imagine how MJ is going to take all these things personally.
So this is where I tell you ogtrianglemedia.com, sign up for OG fans if you have not already done so, because I'm going to write about this more in depth for Thursday. But I see there are three possibilities here, Joe. I don't think there's any chance he's going to be on every broadcast. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think either this special contributor role is going to be the first week that NBC has games. You will get some sort of retrospective of the NBA on NBC starring him and Bob Costas, and that might be it.
Are we talking more Gretzky Messier levels?
I don't even think it's going to be to that.
Be with Ahmad Rashad, his guy.
Ahmad Rashad. Good point. Yeah. All right. So it's either going to be.
No, I know. I totally forgot. You're right. You're right.
I think you're right. All right. So it's either going to be that, like just a special week of programming and no more. I think that he will have a deal. The other real possibility is he will have a deal where he never really leaves his house. He just goes downstairs to a green screen, records some sort of intro for every game that NBC pieces together. Or this is a radical one, but I think it would be a brilliant move by NBC. If next year is his swan song, what if you just bring Jordon in for every LeBron game on NBC?
Do it.
Absolutely, right? Do it. Like, you don't have to have him call the action. Have him in the studio, talk about what it's like to know it's your last dance, and also every chance he gets, just remind people, I'm Michael Jordon and he's LeBron James.
I'm thinking of three people when you bring this up, and we'll close on this. I'm thinking of three people in the business that would, two of them would hate it, one of them would love it.
Nick Wright would have a raging boner for this.
He would love it. That man's going to have to go to a hospital for the 4-hour erection he's going to have, that he gets to fight the LeBron fight, because he's very pro LeBron James and very not anti Michael Jordan, but just kind of like yelling at people about Michael Jordan, right? So he would elevate to a new level that I didn't think he was capable of, but this would unleash it. And then the other two, this is where Michael Jordan takes it personal. Michael Jordan's probably looking at Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless going, oh, you thought you had those corners? Oh, no. It's time for the greatness to come in. It's time for me to step in and tell you what this game is all about. Demetri Ravanos, go to September RDU on Instagram to find out the tickets for both the Podcast Festival and the Sklar Brothers, a twofer. And of course, you can go to Rialto.com to get your Sports Podcast Festival tickets right now and get hyped up for week 0 with Split Zone Duo, Big Screen Sports, and we will be there as well. We'll see if Jordan Hudson will show up.
Why not? I mean, I don't know that she'll have much to do. I hear she's banned from the facility, right?
No, I mean, maybe if we dangle Miss Raleigh 2025.
Ooh.
If you
or Miss Chapel Hill 2025.
Could we dangle just first runner-up for Miss? Because that would be better than she did with Miss Payne.
If you grizzled radio veterans really want to do this,
oh boy,
the guy who runs my golf one and done pool, his name is Jordan Hudson.
Oh, then we advertise that Jordan Hudson will be there.
Giglio, I want you to know that the man we affectionately call the life coach,
who will be on tomorrow,
in 2008, thought he had a brilliant idea by us calling John McCain's in the Raleigh phone book to talk about Barack Obama. And the first person Salt dialed and said, "May I speak to John McCain?" A little old lady said, "Oh, honey, he's dead."
Oh, no. All right. On that note, Demetri, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you later.
All right, boys.
I did want to spend this brief moment of time to follow up on something from yesterday's conversation with Pablo Torre. If you haven't heard it, by all means, go back to yesterday's episode. And I get you might be over the Belichick stuff. I get all that. But trust me, it's a great conversation. And honestly, I think we had a conversation with Pablo that you're not going to get from other outlets. You're not going to get that conversation we had with him from Dan Patrick. This is not a knock on Dan Patrick or any other national shows. I'm just saying that the dynamic with us local, him national, and this conversation, you're not going to get it anywhere else. And that's why I wanted to have that conversation. And I appreciate Pablo's time. And I know you heard a lot of feedback from that conversation, as did I. But there was one thing about the conversation I feel like that needs to be cleared up, and that is June 1st. And this is not about Pablo. This is about aggregation. Pablo is of the belief that June 1st looms large because of the buyout for Bill Belichick going from $10 million to $1 million. We all, at this point, we all kind of know that contract detail. It has been a talking point about the contract since he took the job. But the dynamics have changed from when he took the job at the end of last year and where we are today, okay, which I'll get to in a second. But this is where I do not fault Pablo. Pablo is of the belief that Bill Belichick won't coach a game. He's not the first one to theorize that. He's not the last person to theorize that. And I understand why he has those opinions. And even I was of that opinion not that long ago. So this is not a new concept. But he's been aggregated. Report. Belief that Bill Belichick will not coach at North Carolina to start the season. And that's not a report. That is an opinion. That is analysis. There's a difference. I was actually listening to a Brian Windhorst interview on the press box from The Ringer. And Windhorst went into great detail about how he is frustrated with coverage today because they take what he says on ESPN, which is there as an analyst, and they treat it as a report. There's a difference between breaking news and reports versus here's my analysis. So let's strip that out of there. That's his belief. But now we have to talk about the actual situation unfolding with the contract. And these are two key details from the Bill Belichick contract, and they're highlighted if you're watching on YouTube. And this is the first part. In the event this agreement is terminated pursuant to a bunch of legalese December 31st, 2027, the highlighted part, the university shall pay coach as set forth below an amount equal to the sum total of any remaining unpaid base salary and earned but unpaid bonuses as set forth in Section 4 and supplemental income as set forth in Section 5 through December 31st, 2027, i.e., strip the legalese, he's owed this amount of guaranteed money upon termination. You've looked at a bazillion contracts. You want to distill that even further?
Yeah, I mean, think about this logically. Bill Belichick has an actual agent. I'm going to assume Jordan Hudson didn't do this for him.
No.
So it's competently done is what I'm getting at. And no agent would let you sign a contract that allows the school to reduce a buyout to $1 million on June 2nd. This is for an NFL team or another school to come in and say, after June 1st, this is what the buyout becomes.
This is that next section.
If North Carolina were to say, hey, we don't want you anymore, they would own the $30 million that is guaranteed under his contract.
Yes, they own the money if UNC does not want him anymore.
Without cause. They would need cause.
Of course.
Which is where I always say the financial portion of this comes in.
That's fair. But this
it would need to be a financial malfeasance.
So this gets to the other part of this. In the event coach terminates his agreement on or after June 1st, 2025, coach shall pay the university liquidated damages of $1 million. That's the buyout thing. This is important, okay? Bill Belichick himself could write a check for $1 million to UNC and say, hey, man, I'm out. Here's your $1 million. He could do that.
Right, and forfeit the money that's owed to him.
But what does that mean for Stephen Belichick? What does that mean for Mike Lombardi? What does that mean for everybody else that he has brought over to UNC? He's not doing that. Okay, well, we get back to what about another team? Things have changed since we first got this contract. When we first saw this, the thought was, man, an NFL team might scoop him up on June 2nd. Okay, that was back then. It's May 13th. What about today gives you the impression that an NFL team is going to scoop Bill Belichick up after June 2nd? Like, even if they fire somebody in the middle of the season and they say, hey, Bill's time. After all of this, and this is why this story is important. This is why the palace intrigue and the power dynamics do matter on a sports sense and why it's not, quote unquote, beneath us to talk about it. because everything that has happened would indicate to you that not a soul in the NFL is going to hire that man. Not a soul.
Right.
So I then get back to the question, who will hire him? Does a lacrosse program somewhere out there in the Northeast have $1 million to throw at Bill Belichick to buy him out?
But then they'd have to financially make it worth his while.
Right. See where we're getting at here? So all this is to say,
and we're not picking on anybody. We're trying to clarify from our own side, like, because this was like the number one detail that people jumped on once the terms of agreement were released, let alone the contract. Well, there's more clarity here when you just kind of look at, but again, think of it logically. Why would Bill Belichick, arguably the most successful coach in the history of the NFL, enter an agreement where he could be exposed like this and let go for a reduced rate without any compensation in return? That doesn't make any sense.
All of this is to say that man is in Chapel Hill. He will be coaching against TCU. He will be coaching.
Yeah, I think he'll coach for at least one season. I would not think about much more beyond that.
Nope.
Which is why I always thought the Ireland announcement was amusing.
Well, there could be a Belichick coaching in that game. Could be. We don't know. Big thanks to our friends at Hometown Realty. Check them out online, myhtr.com. Buy and sell with confidence. With Hometown Realty, you are dealing with folks that are in the area, understand the dynamics of the real estate right now, and they can make sure that you get the maximum value of your home, the Chris Gensel of your home.
Volume too.
Or in volume, if you're looking for volume.
Yeah.
They can do that at My Hometown Realty, myhtr.com. Are you buying a house? You got to finance that. Maybe you already have a house, but you're looking to refinance. Contact our friends at Miller Lending. Check them out online, millerlending.com/theog. They're going to take you to our landing page there. You take the closing, you're going to get a gift basket from the Raleigh Wine Shop. You can also call Miller Lending directly at 919-447-3377. You good? Is it done?
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, you finally did it. It's you've put the debt into the volcano in Mount Doom.
It's a different way to pay it off, but we'll just keep kicking it down the road a little bit.
That's all. But these are
much more manageable for sure. Savings is off the charts.
These are real world applications of why you want to refinance beyond just the idea of getting a lower rate. Trust me when we tell you that the rate you're going to get with Miller Lending to refinance your house and to consolidate debt is a hell of a lot lower than those credit cards. So contact them today at 919-447-3377. You bought that house, you got to insure it, right? Or maybe you already have a house and you got insurance, but is your rate good? Could you be saving money? Contact our friends at State Farm in Garner. Matt Davis is going to take care of you. Did you see him last night?
I did not get a chance to see Matt yesterday.
Since I was back and you were less frazzled.
There was a lot of breathing going on yesterday.
Go to insuregarner.com or call them directly at 919-779-8277. Just start the conversation. You might be surprised at how much you're going to save with our friends at State Farm in Garner. Again, that's 919-779-8277. All right, let's get out of here with some Hey Joe. Of course, we go back to the OG Sports.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
Of course, the Sports Phone is brought to you by Nature's Relief. Check them out online, naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF hempstore.com. To the text, we got one from a 919. Firstly, it's very funny to me that Eddie Vedder said no to sounding the siren. The ask was in. Maybe he had other plans. I was told initially that he was going to be in a box for the playoff game, but then I was told by a much more reliable source, fake news. He was not in the building last night. I think there was some speculation the man wasn't even in town. But he's in town tonight.
Yeah, it's not like Pearl Jam has the same budget that we have. So
Fair enough. From about 336, I'm sure there will be a lot of talk about the game, and for sure, let's go Canes. But I've done a straw poll of my friends in attendance and not at all, and not at the game, but they all agree shirtless boxer edition of Stormy was a horror movie. Stuff of a horror movie. So I went ahead and I pulled up the picture that they sent me of Stormy with no shirt on. I was not expecting to see Stormy without a shirt. I have questions as to why he doesn't have any nipples.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
he's a pig.
He's got nipples. You have nipples. I have nipples. We all have nipples. Even Super Mario has nipples. Trust me. You're making a face. Some of you know, you played Super Mario Odyssey on your Nintendo Switch, and there's a level in an outfit where he's in a bathing suit and it's shirtless Mario, and you see Mario's nipples, and you're like, I didn't realize Mario had nipples. It's news to me. So, fun fact, Stormy doesn't have nipples. Anyway, moving on to another text message. This is from a 252. Can y'all please talk about the transplant Caps fan complaining on Reddit about how the Canes won't be his second favorite team anymore because he got offended by cheaters never win amongst them? I'm like, that's not real. But the texter did send the Reddit post that apparently is on the Canes Reddit. Okay. Lost a potential fan tonight. Got it? So I also posted this on our Caps Reddit, but I hope some of you guys can take this experience and have a positive impact. He talks about the Caps sucking and all this other kind of stuff. Apparently somebody was dry humping him after goals. But here's the part that I'm finding kind of weird. Walking in tonight, I wanted to get some gear for my second favorite team and a new home team. Walking out tonight, I couldn't. I didn't want to be associated in any way with the people who represented that team. First bad experience, Caps being down 1-0. The fan behind me was literally dry humping the back of my seat. Hey, man, you get excited during the playoffs. Maybe they saw Stormy shirtless and got excited too. I don't know. Second one that got me, the major one, is the venue calling the other team cheaters when they got penalized. So this goes on and on and on. It's like, hey, man, I ain't reading all that. I feel sorry for you, or I feel bad for you, or not. Either way. So what I need to understand is, what am I supposed to feel as, you had a chance to be my second favorite team? Like, what's the sell there? When you go on Reddit to post that, do you think there's somebody on the Canes subreddit that's going to go, damn it, man, we lost a guy who this was going to be his second favorite team?
No, you're the Nashville Predators, and you're like, yes, finally.
Right.
I have a chance.
Who swoops in? Colorado's like, hey, buddy, I mean, have you seen our cap space? We got McKinnon, like, riz him up. Let's go. Like, that's not the sell. In fact, that is the antithesis of a sell, because the one thing that still drives Canes fans nuts is the people who show up throughout the year in Canes stuff, and then when the playoffs come around, suddenly the Rangers jersey comes out. And of course, the whole go back to Carey stuff happens up. So I'm not quite sure where that's a sell. But on the flip side, you got somebody who's mad because your towels were just way too loud. But then we have this other guy. This got sent to me a couple times. The guy's name is Timmy K. He's on TikTok. And while you got the Caps fan who just wants you to know, hey, man, you lost me as a second team guy. This guy's all in.
I just got to say, Carolina Hurricanes, I'm only a period in here, but I was not familiar with your game. I mean, this place bangs. This place buzzes. And don't blame me. It's my first playoff game in Raleigh. And, blame TNT and ESPN. They mute the crowd audio anyway. So how was I supposed to know? But they rock here. When they get going, man, I was not familiar with your game, and they pulled the ultimate rope-a-dope on me today with the tailgates. It was rainy out, so it was like, it was kind of subdued a little bit, and people were just like, oh, wait till you get in. I was going to make a walkout video. I had to jump the gun after period one because, I'll say this, whether you enjoy watching them or not, because they do play that style that can be difficult to watch at times. They just lock you down, but they got some juice here. A lot of people could learn a lesson or two for how this crowd gets after it.
So who are you going to believe?
The guy who's there, or I want you to be my second team.
Right.
I'm going to put you on the on-deck circle.
When you did cheaters never win,
Great. That was a. I mean, you got to be motivated to leave these messages anyway.
You do.
I mean, this is a professional, artistic performance at that point.
At that point,
the building.
And
is
I
accusing
also
fouling is part of the game. It's not cheating.
I also put it on the Caps subreddit, just so you know. Yes, because I'm sure Canes fans are going to go, the Caps subreddit. They might make some good points. Now, this is the same subreddit that got mad at Hayes for putting all are welcome except Tom Wilson. I once again ask you, if you go to a sporting event where everybody's having fun and there's just a very tongue-in-cheek cheaters never win, which has been part of this for a very, very long time, and you get offended by that, it might be time to not log on to Reddit and write multiple paragraphs about it. And maybe, I don't know, close the laptop, put the phone down, go outside, and find something to dry hump. And hopefully...
Not the back of a chair.
But not the back of a chair, but find something to dry up and maybe, relieve some stress.
Yes.
That might be the move because you might be wound a little too tight at that point. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the podcast. We will see you tomorrow